Okay. Okay. So this is very small topic, so we can complete it in one day. Okay. Let me make it the full screen. Okay, so I think now you are able to see this. If you are having any problem, if the slides are not moving, so please let me know. Okay, so today we are going to discuss about the pulse oximeter. Okay, so the main purpose of this particular pulse oximeter is to measure the oxygen saturation level in our body, right? Because as you know that our blood, mainly it is going to measure the oxygen saturation in the blood. So as you know that our blood is going to contain a protein known as hemoglobin, right? So we are going to have a hemoglobin protein in our blood. So what this hemoglobin is going to do here in the blood is it is going to carry the oxygen, right? Because the hemoglobin is going to carry the oxygen and it is going to supply the oxygen to all the different tissues present in our body, right? So so here what for supplying the oxygen to the body, that means let me explain you about the hemoglobin and then we can move into the pulse oximeter, right? So the our body consists of an protein hemoglobin, right? So what this particular protein used to do is this will be present in our blood, and when the blood enters into your lungs, okay, so this particular hemoglobin will attach a oxygen with it. Okay, that means it will become HbO2 as I have written here, right? So when it enters into the lungs, so this hemoglobin will have an oxygen molecule with it, and then this blood is going to flow along all the different parts of your body, right? So this will flow along the different parts of your body, and this particular, whenever it reaches a particular tissue, let us consider that it has reached in some particular muscle. Okay, so you are having a muscle tissue here, so the blood has reached this muscle tissue. So at the capillary level, okay, because on the muscles the arteries are going to subdivide into capillaries. So at the capillary level, what happens, this particular hemoglobin, okay, so this has traveled all the way and reached the tissue, and in the tissue it going to divide into small tubes which are known as the capillaries. So at the capillaries, this as the capillaries are going to have a very thin wall, so this particular hemoglobin will provide the oxygen to the tissue, right? So and then it will take out the oxygen back. So it will give the oxygen to the tissue and take out the, sorry, it will take out the carbon dioxide back. So it will become deoxyhemoglobin. Okay, so this will be oxyhemoglobin, which is represented as HbO2, and after giving the oxygen molecule to the particular tissue, so this particular hemoglobin will become a reduced hemoglobin, or you can also call it as a deoxyhemoglobin. Okay, so this is how our protein, which hemoglobin, is going to work in our body. That means if you want to measure the oxygen saturation, if you want to measure how much amount of oxygen is present in your body, then it is very clear that if you are going to measure the oxygen saturated in your blood, right? Because the blood is ultimately going to provide the oxygen to different parts of your tissues, right? Different tissues of your body, right? So if you are able to measure, or if you are able to record the oxygen saturation levels present in that blood, then it will definitely represent the how much oxygen is going to be supplied for your body, right? So what is the significance of this pulse oximeter? So nowadays everyone because of COVID-19, many of the people know the importance of pulse oximeter. And as you know that if you are having any lung related infections like the COVID-19 also, so what will happen? So the lungs will not be capable of giving the sufficient amount of oxygen to the blood, right? So if your blood is not able to carry the sufficient amount of oxygen, then it is not able to provide the sufficient amount of oxygen to the different tissues in the body, right? So this will happen here. Okay, so the need for measuring the pulse oxygen in the blood is the oxygen level in the blood is to know how much oxygen is being provided. And as you know that if the oxygen levels provided to the tissues are less, then ultimately the tissue is going to die there, right? The tissue is not going to work and it may get damaged, as it is going to get a reduced oxygen level. Okay, so measuring the oxygen level in your body is a very important parameter when you are going to diagnose for an lung infection, right? So at that particular time, or at the time of anesthesia, when a patient is given anesthesia, also there is a need for measuring the oxygen level, because there may be chances of the reduction in the oxygen level. So as you know that whenever any patient is kept in an ICU, and if he is given anesthesia, at that time also the pulse oxygen of that particular patient will be measured. Okay, so this is the importance of pulse oximeter. Majorly, what the pulse oximeter is going to measure, it is going to measure the oxygen saturation levels in your blood. Okay, and if you are taking any pulse oximeter meter with you, so it is going to represent it as SpO2. Okay, as you can see there in any meter, you are going to see the pulse oxygen with a indication like SpO2. Okay, so have you understood how why the pulse oximeter will be used and what it is going to measure?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let us move into our pulse oximeter, how the pulse oximeter is going to work. Okay, as you know the significance of oxygen level saturation and what the pulse oximeter is going to measure. So now let us see how we can measure the oxygen level. As I said that we can measure the oxygen level in our blood by using the pulse oximeter. Let us see how we can do that. Okay, so as you know that this particular pulse oximetry, or you can call it as a pulse oximeter, works on concept of arterial oxygen saturation determination. Okay, so it will determine the oxygen saturation concentration by using two different wavelengths. Okay, that means it is going to use a light, and that particular lights it is going to use two different lights of two different wavelengths, and depending upon the absorption principle, that means which light is going, how much of amount of one wavelength light and how much amount of second wavelength light has been absorbed. Depending upon absorption, that we can measure the pulse oxygen level. Okay, so and that too, you are not going to measure the constant pulse absorption. You are going to observe the pulsating part. Okay, the pulsating part of the wave, which will be emitted by the two different wavelength sources. Okay, so what how the pulse oximeter is going to measure the absorption. Okay, so it is going to consider that whenever we are using a pulse oximeter, all the manufacturers will consider that there are only two observers. Okay, if you are giving a light of two different wavelengths, so these lights will be observed by only two different two different materials. Okay, one will be oxyhemoglobin. Okay, and other will be reduced or deoxyhemoglobin. Okay, so it will be considered. Okay, but in practical it will not be like that, that if you are giving a two light sources of different wavelengths, then it is not that the two will be absorbed by oxyhemoglobin and deoxyhemoglobin. It will be absorbed by remaining part of your body also. Okay, so now let us see that. Okay, so why I had considered only two observers are present in my pulse oximeter measurement, why not other? Okay, so according to the clinical experience, okay, as you know that whenever we are going to manufacture any device, we are going to have some clinical experience or clinical trials for that. So light, when the light passes through the ear, so the measure we have to remember here is the pulse oximeter. This particular pulse oximeter will be attached to your ear, or it will be attached to your finger. Okay, it will be attached to ear or it will be attached to your finger. Okay, so these are the only two parts where the pulse oximeter is going to be attached. We are not going to attach the pulse oximeter in any other part. Okay, so because we need some very because these two are very suitable, because the light can pass easily to these two parts. If you are going to connect it to any other part, the light is not able to pass from one end to other end. Okay, so whenever whenever the light passes through the ear or finger, okay, wherever you are attaching your pulse oximeter, it will be absorbed by skin pigments. As I am talking practically, there will be a observing the skin pigment, right? And some tissues will observe that. Okay, that means your muscle tissues will observe that, the cartilage is going to observe, the bone is also going to observe, and then the arterial blood and venous blood, right? venous blood. All are going to absorb the light. Okay, but as I have said here, only two observers will be present. One will be oxyhemoglobin and other will be reduced oxyhemoglobin. And these two will be present in my arterial blood, right? But apart from arterial blood, there are different observers present. One will be skin pigment, one will be tissue, one will be cartilage, one will be bone, one will be arterial blood, and one will be venous blood. Okay, so these many parts are going to absorb the light. But still, I am saying that I am going to take only two observers. Why? I will explain you the reason next. Okay, so have you understood till now?
सर सर ये पल्सेटाइल पार्ट क्या होता है?
अभी आपको एक्सप्लेन करूंगा, आगे जाएंगे तो आपको पता चलेगा पल्सेटिंग पार्ट में, आपको वेवफॉर्म दिखाऊंगा, आपको समझ में आएगा, ठीक है?
ओके ओके सर.
Okay, so and as I said that there are different observers here. Are you able to see the second slide? Slides move over there, na?
हाँ सर हो रहा है.
Okay, so as in the previous slide, this is my previous slide. So like you can see that there are different observers, right? Apart from the arterial blood. So all these are going, observers are in additive, okay, and they are going to obey the Beal numbers law, which is observe A is equal to log T, that means I naught by I1. This will be I naught 1 naught, okay. So where I naught will be the incident light and I1 will be the transmitted light, and E here will be the extension, D will be the depth, and C will be the concentration. Okay, so what the BL numbers law explains it, the absorption will be equal to, okay, will be equal to log of I naught by I, where will be I naught will be your incident light, okay, the light that is emitting by the light source, and I will be the transmitter light, which will transmit along the tissues and it will reach the other side of the tissue, okay, and then this will be your extinction coefficient, and this will be your depth, the how much depth the layer where you are connected, where you connected your pulse oximeter, and C will be the concentration. Okay, so don't go through this formula, okay, this may confuse you. Just remember that the observation will be additive and obeys the BL numbers, and this will be your BL numbers. Okay, so as I had said that there are different observers, but I am going to take only two observers, considering that only two observers. Why? Why? Because as I had explained to you here, I am going to consider the pulsating part. Okay. So what this pulsating part will be, I will explain you. Okay. So what happens whenever, like, this is your finger. Okay. This is your finger, and you have connected a pulse oximeter here. Okay, this is your finger and you connected a pulse oximeter here. Okay, so you can let us consider that my light sources are here. Okay, I had connected my light sources here, so this particular light sources are going to transmit the light like this. Okay, and my detector will be here, and this is going to receive the light that is transmitted. That means the incident light will be here, and then here it will going to detect the transmitted light. Okay, so what happens whenever the light passes through that? Okay, the light, whenever the light passes through that, as you know that your blood is going to circulate, right? Remember one thing, the blood will be not be steady. Okay, if you are considering the arterial blood, okay, with arterial and venous, okay, we are going to have two blood vessels, right? One will be arteries, one will be veins, and in between the artery and veins there will be capillaries, right? Let me explain you. Okay, this is your tissue, right? So this will be the artery which is going to carry the blood with it. Okay, so via arteries, but we have the blood in the artery known as arterial blood. So via arteries the blood will reach the tissue. Okay, when the blood reaches the tissue, these arteries will subdivide into small blood vessels which are called as your capillaries. Okay, so what happens, this particular capillaries will have do the gas exchange, nutrient exchange, and then after the exchange completed, if the blood will come out from other blood vessels which are known as venous. Okay, venous. Okay, veins, you can call them as veins. Okay, so if you consider the blood in the arteries, okay, if you are going to consider the blood in the arteries, this blood will not be constant because it is going to circulate. Okay, but if you are going to consider the blood in the capillaries or blood in the veins, this will be having the velocity, the movement of velocity of the blood will be high in the arteries. Once the blood reaches the capillaries, the velocity of the blood will become very low, and once it reaches the veins, its velocity will become very much low. Okay, that means if you consider come the finger, if we have a place my pulse oximeter on the finger, so my finger will have arteries, will have capillaries, and will have the veins, right? But if you consider among the three, okay, if you consider among the three, the velocity of the blood in the capillaries or in the veins will be very slow. That means it may be somewhat equal to the it will, if you see like that, or it will look like it they are steady there. Okay, so if the light passes through that, whatever the light passes and whatever the receive light, it will be constant, right? If you are giving this much amount of light, some will be absorbed and this much amount of light will come, and the light that we are receiving here, okay, the light that we are receiving here, it is not going to change. Like I had given 10 rays, I have received the 8 rays, the 2 rays has been absorbed by my capillary. So these 8 rays, every time when I give the 10 waves, I will get the 8 waves, because there is no that much of high velocity of circulation of blood in the capillaries. Similarly, let us see in the veins. In the veins also, when I given the 10 rays, let us consider my veins are having deoxy, so it has absorbed very less. So I am getting the 9 rays out. Okay, one will be absorbed. Whenever I give the 10 rays, I am going to get the 9 rays. Okay, so because the blood in my veins are not going to circulate at a very high speed. Okay, so the blood, that means when you are passing the light, so you are getting a constant value either in the capillaries, either in the veins. And as I said, the other parts, where is the other parts, so other parts will be skin pigment. Okay, the skin pigment is not going to any blood, so there will be also the same thing. Whatever the light you are going to give, some will be absorbed and level will be given, and will be constant. Whenever you are going to give that much of amount of light, you are going to get that much of amount. There will be no variation in the amount of light that you are receiving. Similar thing happens with the tissues also. Similar thing happens with the capillaries also. Similar thing happens with the bones also. Okay, so all the, apart from the artery blood, that means the blood in the arteries, all the different remaining all the observers, the skin pigments, the tissues, the cartilage, the bone, and the venous blood, they are going to observe something and they are going to give the remaining light, and that light will be constant. Whenever you give the light, they are going to give that much only. Okay, that means there is no change in the amount of light that we are receiving, right? But if you are considering the arteries, okay, because as I said that in the arteries the blood is going to circulate at a high velocity, right? So whenever you are going to give the light, some will be absorbed and some will be come out. Okay, and because as the blood stores at a very faster rate, sometimes the blood that is coming here will carry a high amount of oxygen and less amount of carbon dioxide, and sometimes the oxygen will be less. So because of every time the blood is going to circulate at a faster rate, so because of that, if you are going to give 10 rays, one time you may receive 8, one time you may receive 7, again one time you may receive 8, and you may receive 7. That means the amount of light that you are receiving at the receiver side, it may fluctuate because of the uh, flow of the blood. Okay, so that's why as the blood, as the pulsating waveform, that means the output wave getting pulsated only when the light passes through the arterial blood. When the light passes through capillaries, veins, or skin pigment, or tissues, or cartilage, or bone, you are not going to get the pulsating wave at your output. Okay, you are going to get the pulsating wave at your output when you are getting a when the light passes through the arterial blood. Okay, so this is the reason why I had considered that I am having only two observers. One will be my oxyhemoglobin and one will be my deoxyhemoglobin, because at the time of explaining the pulse oximeter, I had clearly given you the statement that I will consider the pulsating part of my waveform, and as per my explanation, I will get my pulsating part only when the light is only for the light that has gone through the arterial part. Okay, so when I'm getting a pulsating part, the pulsating part will occur only for the light that has passed through the arteries, and when the light passes through the arteries, so the arteries are going to carry only oxy and deoxyhemoglobin. Okay, so that is the reason why I had considered the observers as oxy and deoxyhemoglobin. And what is the pulsating part? That means at the receiver end, the light that you are getting will pulsate. That means it will not be a constant value, as it is having a constant value and the remaining tissues, but it is not going to have a constant value in your arterial blood. Okay, so the oxygen saturation which the pulse oximeter usually measure will be the saturation of the blood that is available in your arteries. Okay, so have you understood till now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the we are going to measure the, that means we are going to consider only that particular light which is pulsating. If you are getting a constant light, that means it will always remember the previous value. The pulse oximeter, what the pulse oximeter will do means first it will take the all the values and it will remember the previous value, and it, when you are getting a new value, it will compare the new value with the previous value. If the value is same, whatever the how many that it will ignore that, and it will only take that particular light which is having some change from the previous value. Okay, so it is going to consider only the pulsating part, and this pulsating part will be calibrated and will be displayed on your display. Okay. So okay, so let us move. This is your pulse oximeter. You can see here. Okay, so this is your pulse oximeter. I think you may seen it in many parts. Okay, so so now let us see how the pulse oximeter is going to work. Okay, so as I said that we are going to transmit the light and then we are going to receive the light in other end, right? So the light that we are going to transmit, it will not be a single light, it will be two different lights. One will having a wavelength of 914 nanometer and one will be having a wavelength of 63 nanometer. Okay, so the wavelength of light that 919 nanometers will be called as an infrared light, and at the 660 nanometers you are going to get a red light. Okay, if you are going to see the wavelength chart, the light that comes in the wavelength of 660, it will be a red light, and if the light comes in a wavelength of 940, it will be an infrared light. Okay, so in the pulse oximeter I am going to place two LEDs, one LED of 940 nanometer wavelength and one LED will be the 660 nanometers. That means this will emit the infrared light and this will emit the red light. And if you are practically going to see this pulse oximeter, and if you open the clip and see inside, you can only see the red light. You are not able to see the infrared light because it will be not be visible to our naked eye, right? But don't consider that this pulse oximeter is having only red light, it is not having infrared light. It is having its infrared light, but it is not visible to you, right? As you know that in your TV's remote also, as you are having TV remote, so you can see clearly in the TV remote also, it is having some LED. But if you observe that it is not going to give any light, so it is not, that means that your TV is not working, right? If you want to see the infrared light, like that light that if you want to see the TV's infrared light, so just place the in the remote in front of a mobile camera and then press the button of the TV, you can see the infrared light in your camera. Okay, the mobile's camera is able to capture the infrared light, but your naked eye is not able to capture. Okay, so if anyone are having, if anyone want to see the infrared light, just take a camera, and if you are having a very small camera, put that camera inside this clip, so you can see both the red light and infrared light inside your camera. Okay, but for the naked eye you are going to see only the red light. Okay, so at the top I place go two LEDs, one will be my infrared LED and one will be my red LED. Okay, so these two are going to emit the two lights, and at the bottom part I am going to have a photo detector. Okay, the photo sensor, and this particular photo detector is going to detect receive the light, whatever the light. If it is receiving infrared, it will receive the infrared. If it is receiving the red light, it will receive the red light. Okay, so I think you know the photo detector. Photo detector is nothing but a diode. Okay, for those who are first time listening, listening the word as photo detector. So what is a photo detector? The photo detector will be a diode. It will be a diode. Okay, whenever the light falls on that, there will be a change in voltage or current in this particular photodiode, and the change in the voltage and current can be calibrated and you can detect the light. Okay, so whenever the light falls, the voltage or current may vary, so it will detect the light. Okay, so the photo detector light, so that will be placed here, because here also my application is I have to detect the light. I have to know how much of red light I had received and how much of infrared light I had received. Depending upon that, I can decide that how much of oxygen present in my body or blood. Okay, So my pulse oximeter is going to have two lights. Okay, one will be red light and one will be infrared light. Have you seen the image here? Slides to very हो रहा है ना?
Yes, sir.
So यहाँ तक समझ में आया? अभी मैं एक्सप्लेन किया हूँ दोनों लाइट्स क्या होते हैं. यहाँ तक समझ में आया कि दो लाइट्स रहते हैं और एक डिटेक्टर रहता है.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let us move to the next part. Okay, so now let me that you can these advantages I think you can read. So the first extra advantage in our pulse oximeter is it remove the requirement of arterial blood flow. Like in the if you want to measure the oxygen in the previous day, you are going to remove the arterial blood from and then they are going to analyze it. They are and for removing the arterial blood they will heat, rub it. So all these particular uh, thing has been eliminated because of pulse oximeter. Okay, and in the pulse oximeter we are measuring a change in the signal. Okay, so we are measuring the signal and we are going to display it. Okay, so what happens in the previous thing is first they will take the blood out and they will measure and then they will store the previous value. Again they will take the blood and they will load the new value and then they are going to compute the oxygen saturation. But because of the pulse oximeter everything has been eliminated. Okay, the instrument is it is calibrated in such a way that skin pigments, thickness, tissue, sensor location, these are not going to influence your measurement. Okay, so the other advantage is this particular pulse oximeter instrument is calibrated in such a way that what the skin pigment, because the pigmentation may be different skins are going to have different skin pigmentation. So the skin pigmentation and some of the people may have the finger thickness more and some may have the finger thickness less. So the thickness, the tissue, the sensor location, all these factors will not influence your measurement. So the calibration will be done in such a way that all these parameters will not measure your measurement or affect your measurement. Okay, and then what are the limitations that the pulse oximeter is going to have? The only limitation the pulse oximeter is going to have is ambient light. Okay, so if you are going to measure the pulse oximeter in pulse oxygen in an open environment, and if there is an ambient light, okay, if there is a light, if you are measuring that in an outside environment, so the outside light, the light because of your sun, that means the ambient light may affect your reading, because as you know that the pulse oximeter is going to work depending upon the red and infrared light absorption. Okay, the LED is going to emit and the detector is going to detect that. Okay, if in between these any other light comes, so it is definitely going to affect, right? So that's the reason why it is not preferred that infrared lights, infrared thermometer, sorry, infrared, sorry, the pulse oximeter, sorry, the pulse oximeter should not be used in an ambient light. Okay, if you are using in an outside environment, so try to cover it so that so light cannot interfere the reading. Okay, and the other imitation that the pulse oximeter is going to have it motion artifact. Like I have placed the pulse oximeter to your finger and you are just moving your finger. So because of the motion, there may be some errors in your reading. Okay, so it is not suitable for the motion artifacts. Okay, so these are the advantages and the limitations are only two. One will be the outside ambient light may affect the may affect your pulse oximeter. So you have to cover the pulse oximeter when we are taking the reading. That's why it will be designed as a clip. As you see a pulse oximeter, it will be in a type of clip because there is no effect. Okay, and then the other thing is if you are going to move the finger, so the motion artifacts may affect your reading. Okay, so have you understood still now the advantages and the limitations?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now let us see the pulse oximeter, how the pulse oximeter is going to work here. Okay, so how the pulse oximeter is going to work. So the first thing is you are going to have a probe, and that particular probe is going to have two light emitting diodes. Okay, and then there will be one light collector which you can call it as an photo detector. Okay, and then there will be a microprocessor for processing all the sensor data, from processing the sensor data. Okay, so these are the three things. Okay, so this is how your pulse oximeter is going to look like. Okay, this will be my red LED and this will be my infrared LED and this will be my detector. So in this way the light is going to travel. Okay, so in this way it will be this will be pulsating, that pulsating light will be collected like this. Okay, and this will be minus whatever the constant value. That means whenever you are going to whenever the detector receives, so what the detector receives, the detector may receive the constant part and a varying part. Okay, as I said in the previously that all the tissues are going to give the constant absorption and only the arterial blood is going to give the variable absorption. Okay, so it is going to get the constant part and the variable part. Okay, and what my microprocessor will do, my microprocessor just take the complete waveform and then it will minus the constant part, so it will get the varying part, and this particular varying part will give my pulse oxygen value. Okay, so Beer's law will explain how much the concentration of light absorption happen, and Lambert's law will explain how much distance my light is going to travel. Okay, like the Beer's law. Okay, so Beer's law, as if it will explain that, as you can see it in this image and this image. So you can see here these are all my hemoglobins which are carrying the oxygen with them. Okay, as you can see on the left side image, so these are having less amount of hemoglobin which are carrying oxygen, and this is having very high amount of hemoglobin. Okay, as here the oxygen molecules are very less, so if you consider three waves, one wave will be absorbed by them and remaining two waves will be transmitted and received by my detector. Okay, as you can see here oxygen level is high in my hemoglobin. Among the three, two waves will be absorbed by this oxygen and one wave will be received by this detector. That means what the Beer's law will explain, this will explain how the light is going to absorb. So the light is going to be absorbed depending upon the how much amount of oxygen present in your hemoglobin. Okay, and then the Limbert's law. Okay, so the Limbert's law explains how long that light is going to travel. Okay, so as you see that the light this okay, so this is not that much important. Okay, so now let us see which, which light is getting absorbed by the oxygen and which light will be absorbed by the deoxyhemoglobin. Well, it will be oxygen hemoglobin and deoxyhemoglobin. So as I are having two light sources, one will be red light and one will be infrared light. What that means, 660 nanometer light and 940 nanometer light. So red light will be absorbed by whom and infrared light will be absorbed by whom, right? So we have to know that, right? So as you know that oxyhemoglobin, that means the hemoglobin which is carrying oxygen with it will absorb more infrared light and it will absorb very less red light. Okay, and if you consider deoxyhemoglobin, that means it is not having the oxygen with it, so it will absorb more red light and it will absorb less infrared light. Okay, that means if you are getting, if the detector is getting more pulsating value of red light, that means it will be, it will come to know that it is have, the blood is having more deoxyhemoglobin. If the detector is, sorry, I said in reverse, right? Sorry. If the detector is receiving more red light, that means the infrared light is getting absorbed. Okay, let me explain you. Let me explain you. Okay, so this is my pulse oximeter. So two lights will be emitted, right? And my if my detector, one will be IR light and one will be red light. If my detector receives more red light and if it receives lead infrared light, that means it gives an idea to the IR, it gives an idea to the pulse oximeter that if the infrared light is not getting received properly by the detector, that means it has been absorbed by the blood. That means the blood is carrying more oxygen with it. Okay, if both lights are again emitting and this time the detector is receiving more infrared light and but very less red light, that means the pulse oximeter is going to know that if I am receiving more infrared light means it is not having oxygen, it is having carbon dioxide, it is not having oxygen, it is a deoxyhemoglobin, that's why it is absorbing red light. Okay, so in this way the pulse oximeter is going to know. Okay, so have you understood till now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now I just want to show you the other waveform and a formula how the pulse oximeter is going to calculate the oxygen percentage, because as you know that on the device you are going to see the percentage like 95, 96, 97 like that. And remember that the patient will be considered healthy only when the oxygen saturation percentage is greater than 95%. If it is having the saturation less than 95% means he immediately need a doctor's assistance. Okay, so if you are getting above 95%, it may be 96, 97, 98, 99, and 100% will be very very rare case, so it will be a good healthy person. If you are getting value less than 95, it will be considered that you are having some problem with it. Okay, so let me show you the two formulas. Actually I have not included them in the PPT, you can get it in the textbook. Just wait for 1 minute. So are you able to see the PDF here?
Yes.
So you can see here the formula for the oxygen saturation. Okay, you can see here oxygen saturation will be equal to HbO2 by HbO2 plus Hb. Okay, the HbO2 plus Hb will be the complete blood and HbO2 will be the oxygenated hemoglobin. So the ratio will be oxygenated hemoglobin by complete blood, and this ratio will be multiplied by 100. So you are going to get the oxygen saturation percentage. Okay, and then I want to show you the other thing. 1 minute. Okay, so are you able to see the mm, cycle diagram here, like photodiode current and time like that? Are you able to see
Yes.
something here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so just remember one thing, that the red and infrared light will not be emitted at the same time. Okay, so first what will happen? There will be off time, and after the off time, first the infrared light will be on for a particular time period, and then there will be again a off time so that the detector can receive the red light, and then the infrared light will be emitted. And once the infrared light will be emitted, again there will be some off time so that the detector can receive the infrared light. And after detector receives the amount of infrared, again red light, again off, again infrared light, again off. So this will be the sequence. First the red light will be emitted, and then there will be some off time so that the detector can receive the red light and it can store the value. And then the infrared light will be emitted, and then again it will, for some time again it will be turned off so that the detector can get a sufficient time to detect the infrared light that it has received. And then after one cycle it will compute the amount of red light and amount of infrared light it has received, and then it will give the reading. Again red light will be emitted, and then some time will be given for receiving the red light. Again infrared light will be emitted, again some time will be given, and after that infrared light, red light and infrared light received will be computed by the microprocessor, and then again the oxygen saturation percentage will be displayed on the reading. Okay, so have you understood the sequence of turning on and off the lights?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this will be the formula if you are considering in the form of in the form of light amount. So the R will be AC, pulsating light that it has received when the red light is emitted, by the constant light that it has received, by pulsating light that it has received when the infrared light is emitted, and then the constant light that it has absorbed, and depending upon that R, it is going to compute the oxygen saturation level. Okay, so this will be the diagram. I think you can see the diagram. Let me reduce this. So are you able, let me reduce it more. So are you able to see the diagram here? Okay, let me make it 100 itself, 125. Okay, So are you able to see the graph here? So if you see the graph here, the incident light has been transmitted, but here there is no pulsation because this everything is observed by the tissues, cartilages, skin pigments, and the venous blood. And here you can see the pulsation, and this pulsation is happened because of volume of blood present in your arteries. Okay, and then this variable value will be readed, and then after you can see here the Imax. The Imax will be constant here because here I am emitting the light. This light passes through my skin pigments, bones, cartilages, all these things. There is no variation, and the same value will be received by the detector. So it is getting a constant value. My photo detector is getting the constant value, and this time again my blood has been now transmitted through the arterial blood, so there is the difference in the value that my receiver is getting, and depending upon this pulsating value the pulse oxygen will be calibrated. Okay, so have you seen the waveform here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is for today. So I had completed the pulse oximeter part also. In the next class, we will see the blood flow measurement. Okay, so there will be one blood. Sorry, next class I will see the spirometer, and then we will see the. 1 minute, let me check what we are having in the next. Okay, so we are having spirometer and then the blood flow measurement. So let us see how much can I complete. Okay, so have you understood the today's class?